What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Well, we finally got a release date for the long-awaited next generation, current generation update from Bethesda for the Fallout franchise, and it's actually not that far off. We're going to go over that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about Ubisoft and digital ownership, as it seems they're once again testing the boundaries for if you should actually be able to own your games or not. And then we're also going to be talking about Nintendo, as they did have an update for their Nintendo Switch Online with new Super Nintendo games going in actually right now. So if you guys enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button, helps out a ton. And if new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And we're going to start today with Stellar Blade and the demo that released not that long ago, one that I did enjoy actually quite a bit. And it appears many people have actually checked it out. We can see this posted up by Genki over on X, where they say Stellar Blade demo hit over 690,000 daily active users. This is according to Ampere Analysis. For comparisons, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth had a peak daily active user count of 380,000. So interesting. According to analyst projections, Stellar Blade could pass 4 million daily active users after its release. In fact, it appears people are just playing the demo over and over and over again, or just kind of in the same save file, just racking up tons and tons of hours playing it. I guess just getting ready for the full game itself, which just a few more weeks, right on the 26th. I'm really looking forward to it. But I mean, the demo did give us a good look at some of the skill trees, of course, the mechanics, the gameplay, and it all really clicked into place for me towards the end of it. But seeing it sort of ramp up in popularity towards its release should spell great things here for Shift Up and PlayStation when it comes to the sales of the game. But of course, you know, we'll visit that a week or so after release to see how it does. Also, it looks like we could have a new entry from Activision Blizzard into Game Pass here pretty soon, as this posted up on X by Clobril says Spyro Reignited Trilogy has been added to the Microsoft Store for PC. A Game Pass release seems to be coming soon. Also lists Xbox achievements. This should not surprise anyone. Obviously, they own Activision Blizzard now. They've talked about the idea of getting basically their entire library just about into Game Pass over time. And it's not just something you flip a switch and boom, there it is. It's in Game Pass. There is a lot of stuff you have to do technically on the back end of like the store and the service to make sure things don't break when it goes live for the Game Pass entry. But still, having Spyro Reignited Trilogy in there, obviously good addition, I would say, for the service. And the other nice thing is, there of course are rumors around a new Spyro game. Doing things like putting the older titles into Game Pass is a good way to just give exposure to the franchise and maybe get people excited at the idea of a new game in the franchise. And this is something we should see continued going forward with Activision Blizzard. Although, while the staggered release schedule, of course, is nice just to have something to look forward to and release potentially every single week, it'd be nice to get a big drop of like 10 or 15 games. Just here you go. They kind of did that with Bethesda a bit. So something like that might be fun to do maybe around their showcase later on in June. We'll see. Oh, and it looks like we have a new game announcement happening next week. Technically an announcement of an announcement, but this is from Warhorse Studios. They posted this up over on their account where they say new game reveal Thursday, April 18th, 20 CEST. I believe that, what's that? I guess is that 2 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern time. Either way, it's Thursday, April 18th. We'll have a new game announced from Warhorse Studios. They, of course, did Kingdom Come Deliverance that they released back in 2018. Recently, it was even ported over to the Switch. That was Saber who did it, I believe. And it actually came out in pretty good shape. Like, people were surprised legitimately by how it ran and how it looked. So I am curious if they're just going to do like Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, I guess, or maybe they try something brand new, but at least something to look forward to next week on Thursday. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with the highly anticipated update coming to us from Bethesda, as it was technically delayed. Like, I feel like this was supposed to have come out either earlier this year or at the end of last year. But either way, this is very big for the Fallout franchise, as this is an update for Fallout 4, which technically completes the cycle where all these Fallout games like Fallout 3, Fallout 76, New Vegas have seen some sort of enhancement on the Xbox Series system, with 4 now getting the same treatment. In fact, over on Bethesda's website, they detail everything that's going into this update, and it's fairly substantial. It's also free, by the way, if you own the game on the Xbox Series or the PS5 or on PC. They have made a few tweaks there as well, but we can see this posted up over on their website. 60 FPS performance mode. There's also a quality mode, but the big one I'm sure many people were thinking of is, okay, can we stabilize or get this frame rate to 60? They are indeed doing that here. Also increased resolution. So really just on the Xbox Series, we should see just a better running and looking game pretty much across the board. Although it's Bethesda with their engine, so who knows? Maybe there's some craziness that happens here when the patch goes live, but either way, good to see the frame rate and the resolution get a nice bump and improvement there. Stability improvements. Again, we'll see how that goes. Widescreen support for PC. Now, I know PC, of course, gets all kinds of mods and different things, but there is a lot that goes into that could get down to you having to edit certain INI files and stuff. The idea of them just, okay, we're going to update this for widescreen support just natively in the application itself, I'm sure is welcome. Steam Deck verified, another big one here. So that's one that obviously after this update, we'll have to go back and see how things run. Although I do have questions as to how this update is going to affect certain mods that are already applied to people's games, because it's already being seen as this would probably break like all of them just about. So again, I'm sure the community around Fallout 4 will be dealing with that once all this goes live. DualSense support, 3D audio support, so really cool stuff there if you'd be playing this on your PS5. And then free content and weapon packs detail all kinds of stuff here. It is coming out April 25th. That's right. 2 weeks from now, this is going to drop. Now, I think back to the release for Fallout 4, and I know it's not the most praised Fallout game. There are people who either like they love it or they hate it, or I'm kind of in the middle somewhere. Now, it came out at the end of 2015, and I believe I played it like that holiday into 2016. I mean, it's a longer game. You could spend a lot of time in these Fallout entries, but I remember playing it. I was like, you know, it didn't have the same feeling that Fallout 3 was like next level when it came out on the Xbox 360. It had that aha moment behind it. Fallout 4, while they did a lot of extra stuff in there compared to 3, it didn't hit me the same way. So maybe that's one of the reasons I don't look back on it as fondly, and it was just kind of like fine for me. But I will say this, I'll go back and check it out with this update, because it has been legitimately years. I mean, technically 2016 since I really sat down and played Fallout 4, and getting a patch like this, moving the frame rate up, adjusting resolution, and just really improving the game overall. Yeah, I think it'll be a lot of fun to check it out again and maybe give an updated opinion around it. But let me know what your thoughts were for Fallout 4, because that was actually the poll question that I put out there. We'll see how everyone answered for that. Next up, let's talk about the Famitsu sales charts, because something happened this week that is massive. I mean, really a big deal. End of an era, you could say. But first, let's take a look at the top 10 for the game sales, starting with Princess Peach Showtime. That's actually taken over the top slot, I think, 3 weeks in a row now. I mean, it is on 19,612 units sold, so it's not like games are going crazy and flying off the shelves in Japan right now, but still 124,000 units that Princess Peach has now crossed physically there. This could turn into a sizable franchise for Nintendo to maybe continue on with and build on. We'll see. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, of course. Rise of the Ronin, actually in there at 3. Super Mario Bros. Wonder, Minecraft on the Switch, Splatoon 3, Nintendo Switch Sports, Momotaro Densetsu World, Animal Crossing New Horizons, and then Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Moving over to the hardware, the Switch had, 71,942. That is a jump of about 14,000 units. That's pretty good for a system that is more than 7 years old now. It's keeps rolling in Japan. It is creeping up on that 33 million mark right now. The PS5 at 24,976. The Xbox Series at a pretty good jump too, to 2,113. The PS4 at 107. And you're going to notice something here. We're missing a system. That's right. This week marks the end of Famitsu reporting on how many 3DS systems were found in the back of retail stores. I mean, just devastating to see. Obviously the 3DS, a bit older of a system now, and I was actually impressed that they were able to track the 10 or 20 units that were sold. you feel like that almost falls into margin of error of 0 even. But at this time, yeah, the 3DS has basically aged out of the Famitsu sales charts, but it was hanging in there, right? The Wii U saw its time and passed through with the 3DS there, the Vita. So here we are now with it mostly just down to the PS4 holding up back from 2013 now. And that probably is going to start kind of dwindling and getting to the point where it's phased out. But yeah, certainly end of an era there for the 3DS when it comes to sales reporting in Japan. And then looking at Princess Peach Showtime, we'll see what Nintendo says about overall units sold here in one of their investor reports coming up. But something tells me that could be a franchise that Nintendo does build on going into their next generation. Probably midway through or towards the second half of that generation, since Showtime just came out, but certainly something to keep an eye on. Next up, let's talk about Ubisoft once again testing the boundaries of digital ownership. Do you actually own your games when you buy them and have them in a digital library? Well, according to Ubisoft, you do not own those games because they're actually revoking licenses now for The Crew. See, we know they talked about The Crew. It was going to become essentially something you cannot access any longer because it is completely reliant on servers that they essentially pay to stand up, sure. But still, it's a game you purchased. You feel like, can you do a patch so that it can be played in some way offline? Maybe cars you've collected, you can just have it be able to drive around in a sandbox and be like, hey, look, these are the cars that I have, and I can at least still somewhat play the game. But no, Ubisoft has decided that you're not allowed to even own this game anymore. We went over the Stop Killing Games campaign that's going on, and I can only see this just bringing more focus to it, and that actually might be a good thing now, because the biggest issue we have is no one really asking enough questions and trying to get some sort of push for regulation, just guidelines around how these companies should be treating the digital era that is approaching. But we can see this is posted up. This is over on Reddit. And there was a whole discussion on The Crew around this, as Ubisoft is now revoking licenses for The Crew. You can see this screenshot here where it says you no longer have access to this game. Oh, look, why not check out the store to pursue your adventures? Hey, you can get The Crew too, that maybe they'll take away eventually. But over on X, there's actually a post where people started just dropping screenshots of the same thing. Accursed Farms, you can see, says, I'm getting reports that people are having The Crew revoked on people's accounts on Ubisoft Connect. I'm not sure that even matters since they made it inoperable anyway, but many in Europe seem to think this is illegal. Also, doesn't change our plans either way, can only help. So I will make a case why this does matter in a second, but they do bring up the idea that, hold on a minute, the EU has already been kind of like skeptical of these companies and the way that they are kind of handling the digital rights and ownership stuff. This feels like something that could maybe push them over the edge and actually go into exploratory territory where they start really looking around and deciding if Ubisoft can do this. Say you gave them, when it came out, $60 for The Crew, and then they just take it back without your consent. But I guess it has the EULA, and you've agreed to all of this, right? Well, even that is naturally being scrutinized at this time. But my case for The Crew and why they shouldn't be able to revoke license, or why that matters in the first place, is you never know with fans who really want a game to work if they can do something like private servers or other workarounds and modifications, because we've seen it constantly with these different games. It's almost like where there's a will, there's a way, and it is to the point now with The Crew where people are, they're looking at Ubisoft like, hey, what are you doing? You're just taking stuff out of my digital library now. And we already know, because of the Stellar Blade situation with that demo, that yes, platform holders and publishers can indeed do this. And here we are now with another example, not too far removed from the Stellar Blade situation. And oh wait, everything is kind of going digital. How often do you think we'll maybe see this going forward into the future? So it might be worth going over to Stop Killing Games and filling that form out to tap some of these regulators on the shoulder and be like, hey, what's going on over here, guys? And in our last bit of news, let's talk about Nintendo and their Switch Online service, as they did add more Super Nintendo games immediately. This was announced last night, and we can see this posted up over on their X account. Let's see, we have 3 Super Nintendo classic titles. They're now live for Switch Online members. That is, of course, the $20 tier, so you don't need the $50 N64 tier for this one. We have Wrecking Crew 98, Super R-Type, and Amazing Heberek? Oh, okay, well, Super R-Type's a good game. Well, okay, not the strongest drop here. In Japan, they did get Battletoads and Battle Maniacs. That's a bit better, right? But I guess Super R-Type is the one that I could point to here. Again, not the strongest lineup to drop in, and it does make you wonder about Nintendo's approach to their service going into next generation. Do they have some plans? Is this kind of a stopgap now to just say, okay, here's some more titles? Because I will admit, even if we have these kind of updates where it's just lackluster and you're like, well, all right, whatever, just throw it in the library, it is still going in a library that has grown quite a bit since they initially announced it, and now you're looking around at like 100 some odd games that just comes with the subscription, because they don't take these games out. So with like a PlayStation Plus membership, or what Xbox is doing, they put the games in and then they cycle through them, right? They get removed after 30 days, you get new ones, and I know they have their extra and premium tier, but you would have Nintendo's kind of comparable more so to PlayStation Plus Essential, even though technically Nintendo is still like $30 cheaper than that one. Probably not for very long, which is kind of my point here. I'm sure the subscription service price will go up, but updates like these aren't exactly getting people excited for the service. However, maybe they have some other plans going into next generation, as GameCube, of course, has been discussed, but maybe like a DS, or, I mean, come on, Virtual Boy, that's a good, they can pull the Zelda CDI games and drop them in. There are all kinds of ideas they can play around with, I'm sure. But of the 3 games getting added in for this update, I guess I'll go ahead and recommend Super R-Type. That's probably the best of the 3. And before we go to the comments of the day, we'll take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I ask, if you played Fallout 4, what did you think about it? Okay, 44% say it was okay. That's kind of where I fall in there. Hey, 42% say I liked it. 14% say I didn't like it. I saw some people in the comments go, hey, you know what? I was like in the middle, maybe leaning towards I didn't like it, but then I saw Fallout 76 and all of a sudden Fallout 4 was a Game of the Year candidate. Nah, I understand Fallout 76. They fell pretty hard with that one. To my understanding though, they have worked to improve it over time, and even that's running at 60 FPS now. The first impression was not great for that. It was basically a disaster. But that's the thing. I am excited to go back to Fallout 4 after this update, because it has been so... It's hard to believe that for me, it's been 8 years since I've really sat down and played it. So maybe I will see it completely differently, especially with the update that sort of takes some of the performance issues out of it, because that game definitely had them on the Xbox One. That's actually where I played it. So yeah, big jump from the VCR to the Series X. And then we'll finish up with the comments of the day. We'll start with this one. This is posted up by Delta, who says, man, hopefully there's an archive somewhere on the internet with all these games and DLC that are going missing lately. Yeah, obviously right now, a lot of these things are backed up online. There are YouTube videos that show you how to modify your system and take advantage of storefronts that are set up to basically distribute these games. And I'll tell you now, if you have a 3DS, you might as well look into hacking it, because a lot of the stuff that people are having a hard time accessing right now, like through official means, because the stuff's been pulled down, it's all there. So you can just kind of download it technically, and you can have a 3DS with all kinds of your games being backed up right there on the SD card. And it is a very convenient and robust system, especially for people who really like RPGs. I mean, it's phenomenal stuff there. But then all the DLC is also available, and even promotional stuff. It's a really cool thing to explore, so yeah, I'd recommend checking that out. And then we'll go over to a comment from the members video. This is posted up by Brilliant, who says, Starfield burned me with that early access junk. I took 2 days off work and everything. Ended up uninstalling after like 3 hours. Oh, okay. That's another risk, another bit of a gamble with the early access stuff is, I mean, you're paying more money, expecting to like the game, because you go through the reviews. I'm sure you did a lot of research on it, or maybe you were just thinking, oh, it's Bethesda, it's Skyrim in space, I feel like I'm gonna like this, and then you don't, and then you really have to sit there in your chair in front of your computer, we'll say, as you're saying here, and go, wow, I spent like $100 some odd on this to get in early, and I do not like this game. That is, that's the other end of the spectrum with the early access stuff. It's great if you like the game and you're in early, but it's actually worse if you end up not liking the game and you have to sit there for hours wondering why you spent the extra money to do so. And ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. There's the big update coming to Fallout 4 here in a couple of weeks for current gen systems. Or are you going to go back and check that game out again, or maybe for the first time? And then also, what about Ubisoft now going out and revoking the license that you paid for a while ago for The Crew because, well, they just don't really want it to work anymore. Thanks, guys, for watching. Have a great weekend. I'll see you back here Monday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time for Newswave.